I'm back. Consider the following tale. Long ago, there was an island called Rock. On the island, a man named Porky Cobweb stumbled upon a litter of kittens. After careful consideration, he took the kittens one by one and threw them into a pit of large snakes, which devoured them. A child was watching the whole time and reported his activities to the townspeople. Disgusted and enraged, the townspeople formed a mob and pursued Porky. They finally caught him and beat him to death. Afterward, the island's inhabitants continued to prosper. There was another island called Sand. On this island was a man named Melvin Pariah. Now, Melvin heard of Porky's exploits and decided to do the same thing in secret. So late at night, he snuck out to where cats were breeding. But before Melvin could do anything, he was caught by a night watchman and killed. Yet Sand Island had only a few snakes left, which, like the snakes on Rock Island, were weakened from starvation. Since they weren't fed with the kittens, they all died. In consequence, the island's rat population got out of control. The rats got into all the grain, gobbled it up, and used it for a toilet. The cat population also exploded. These cats ate up the fish supply and spread rabies. So before long, everyone on the island died from starvation and disease. Now consider this true story. In 1847, Ignaz Philipp Semmelweis discovered that washing hands before surgery cut patients' infection rates and ended up saving thousands of lives. He, of course, shared his discovery with others, but instead of acknowledging him, the establishment got angry, blocked his promotion, and turned on him. Retreating to his homeland, he continued his work, achieving even greater verification. Finally, in 1861, Mr. Semmelweis wrote a book about his methods. The establishment there gave it poor reviews. Others ridiculed him as believing in tiny space aliens using people as islands. Meanwhile, he kept getting more angry and polemical. Finally, in 1865, he suffered a mental breakdown from rage and frustration. Thankfully, his friend Joseph Lister continued his work, which is finally embraced as necessary today. The lesson of these two stories can be summed up by John 7:24. Judge not according to the appearance, but judge righteous judgment. To do that, we must prove all things, per Thessalonians 5:21. Though many people purposely do wrong, many do wrong out of ignorance. Here, to know right from wrong and so be able to do right and refrain from wrong often takes mental effort. So those who ignorantly do wrong, yet had the opportunity to know the truth, are also guilty and responsible. Sometimes the truth is hard to understand, and perhaps there are cases that are impossible to understand for most people, as my first story illustrates. But most people even fail to grasp the truth in relatively simple matters. For example, over many centuries, black cats were condemned as demoniacal and were drowned or burned alive. Even in our year 2017, many people still see black cats as a bad omen, and black cats have far lower rates of adoption from animal shelters than other cats. It's the humans who are demonically retarded. Then there's the universal phenomenon of women rejecting men just because they have a condition such as autism and who lack social charisma, which characteristics cannot be learned or unlearned. And women fawn over men who have an abundance of social charisma, even if they are sociopaths, those without conscience who never experience love or any other kind of positive attachment to their fellow humans. It's as if all the world's women have been infected with some type of toxic gas and have become zombies in a sense. Besides having autism and lacking social charisma, my extremely different personality, which may be unique, has gotten severe and bizarre reactions. For example, I used to go to my friend's parents' house. His sister went too, but inexplicably, my friend never brought me over ever again. After a while, after grilling him for information, the truth came out. His mother and sister were offended simply because I picked up their big aggressive dog, who was half Rottweiler and half pit bull, and in good health, and spun her around. There were a couple other incidents of their being offended by my words or mannerisms, which were even more trivial. This also ended my relationship with my friend's father because his wife was always around. I finally found the mother's email. Among other choice words I typed, I blew my temper. I want to respect my elders, but cannot respect you. And who or what made you so judgmental, you child of the devil? Maybe I shouldn't have done that, but I blew my stick. Someone queried, because I'm treated like garbage, unfairly, extremely wrongly. Someone queried, how can all women on the planet be wrong? I respond, I say, humans by and large are not independent thinkers, and herd mentality can easily override independent thought if you let it. And women are much more emotional and less logical than men, on average. Then you have Satan and his legions, that's what Greek Christians believe, that Satan and his legions purposely destroying one of the most important things in this present life, the relationship between men and women. So considering these factors, it's easy to see how women can topple together as a row of 4 billion dominoes, and so can men. Men have toppled in a giant row of dominoes too, since that a lifetime friendship between two men is almost unheard of. Besides, a numerical majority does not make truth. If everyone on the planet jumped off a cliff, would you do it too? There's a saying, God plus one is a majority. Now, the ultimate source of right is the Lord Jesus Christ, who is the way, truth, and life. However, his message has been almost universally distorted, sometimes beyond recognition. Always keep this in mind. Since some people can be taught, if you're one of the rare people who knows the truth, you should spread it to them, as knowing the truth allows them to do right and avoid wrong. Then there are others who you shouldn't deal with. As Matthew 7:6 says, cast not your pearls before swine, lest they trample them under their feet and turn again and rend you. Swine in this context means wild boars, razorbacks, or other dangerous varieties. I've solved this dilemma by limiting my teaching to making videos to strangers, so I needn't deal with people on a personal basis. Ultimately, you can't change what others believe or how people feel about you. So no matter what, just live your life as best you can. There's a saying, either you laugh or you cry. I try to laugh. Take care.